Hey, you guys can hear me, I hope, hear and see. Looks like I've got an audio signal, which is great. Um, that would be cool if somebody could just go, yeah, we can hear you. I would appreciate that. Don't know if anybody's out there, but hey, Angelina, good to see you. We're going to talk about a fair amount of film noir here. So awesome. Everything is technically copacetic, as they say. Dano, hey, awesome. Good to see you. Are you tucked away in bed? Are you ready for your bedtime story? Mm. Um, okay, I'm going to start with something shorter now. Just a little quick thing from this book again, which I can recommend to all of you. Psychological Reflections by Carl Jung. Um, and this is great because it is nothing but just little selections from his copious writing, as I mentioned before. Hey, Vincent, good to see you, or vicariously, whatever it is. So this is Jung talking on the problems of self-realization, which I think probably pretty much everybody has, whether they can verbalize it to that extent or not. So here's a little quote from Jung on a problem of self-realization. Our unwillingness to see our own faults and the projection of them onto others is the source of most quarrels and the strongest guarantee that injustice, animosity, and persecution will not easily die out. Thank you, Jung. And this is worth getting along with Man and His Symbols, which is also available in a little book. And that's absolutely an amazing read. I highly recommend it. So um, let's move on to films of the 1950s. I don't know if you guys got into making a list or anything like that, but as per usual, I will. Hey Ben, good to see you. Okay, we have the cream of the crop here, as they say. We have the elite. Gonna have to make a badge and send it out to you guys or something, and you can put on the. It's like the Muddy Mud Skipper, like drink caddy or something that Ren and Stimpy were putting on. Never mind. Anyway, so here's my list of the films of the 1950s, and once again, I've had to just basically cut off numerous amount because otherwise, just even this amount is basically looking at probably an hour. So I'll get started with that. And there's so many great films in the 50s, a lot of my favorites and a lot that are just stone cold classics, and they probably always will be. Um, so my number one movie on this list comes from 1950, and it is the movie Sunset Boulevard, the great Billy Wilder uh, memoriam to silent film and some of the crazier celebrities that came out of it. The great thing about this film, besides uh, Gloria, what's the name of the lead actress? Gloria Swanson, is that it has genuine silent movie stars like, well, she was one, but it's also got Buster Keaton shows up to hang out at the house, and it also has the great Eric von Stroheim as the butler. And well, I won't say anything else about that. And then it also has a young William Holden. For any of you who are fans of William Holden, I like William Holden. He might be a personal man crush. Not sure where to go with that, but I'll just leave it there.
His shirt off.
Yeah, because he takes his shirt off a lot. That's what Jennifer says. And so I think that's really what makes him her man crush, but whatever. 1950 also has Rio Grande by John Ford. It's one of the great It's considered the Cavalry trilogy, along with She Wore Yellow Ribbon and also, what was the other one? Fort Apache, which is the one that has Shirley Temple in it as a teenager, where she meets her future husband, John Agar. That's for real. That's outside of the movie. So that's a great movie too. It's got Ben Johnson, of course, John Wayne. If you haven't watched any of these John Ford Westerns, you've got to watch these because this is one of the bedrocks of modern filmmaking. His close-ups, his wide shots, his use of Monument Valley. And then he was also making movies with people that he'd made 4 or 5 movies with at this point. So it's just like a big family making movies together, and you can really feel this sense of camaraderie and family when you watch these John Ford Westerns. So they are really up there in the pantheon of bedrock film history, as I just said. 1950 also has Rashomon, which of course is the legendary film by Kurosawa, and it's great. I'm not sure, it might be like the second film Kurosawa made with Toshiro Mifune at this point. And Rashomon is a great tale because it basically starts out, you're the audience, you're seeing an alleged atrocious accident happen, you're seeing people react to it. And then as the story unravels, things are not as they seem. So Rashomon, one of the great early masterpieces by Akira Kurosawa, and absolutely worth watching. Um, Conteries asks if I've seen any Sophia Loren films from the 50s. What is the one? Was she in a Bresson movie in the 50s or maybe a De Sica movie? I'm trying to imagine the one. Um, and it takes place, it's not Rome, Open City. That is, I think that's De Sica also. But there are some great Sophia Loren movies from the 50s. Can't remember them now because, of course, 25,000 films were made in the 1950s. So,
Ask Con what his favorite is.
yeah, Con, do you have a particular favorite of Sophia Loren films from the 50s? I mean, I will watch pretty much anything with Sophia Loren in it. So I would imagine I'm not alone in that. Lady Crush, yeah. Well, I mean, Sophia Loren, I mean, it's, there's nothing that can be said more or less. I mean, it's just, she's what she is and it's great. I think she might still be alive actually. Since she's like 90 at this point or something. But anyway, um, that was tangential. Let's see, 1950 also has the great film noir Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham film In a Lonely Place. And In a Lonely Place, classic, amazing film. Bogart is a war vet who's come back and become a screenwriter and is packing plenty of devils as a result of his experience during the war. And he gets brought in. A friend of his is Glenn Ford. And this is peak noir. This is really great and absolutely worth watching and a really cool movie. 1951 has the movie Pandora and the Flying Dutchman. This is a great early Technicolor film, or I guess it's not that early, but it's early 50s Technicolor with James Mason and Ava Gardner. And Ava Gardner, like um, Sophia Loren, a really charismatic screen presence, absolutely stunning looking person who knew how to work the camera. And this is a great tale of kind of an update on the Flying Dutchman myth, which is essentially a man who's doomed to travel the oceans on a ship until he finds a woman that will effectively sacrifice herself for his love and allow her to murder him, murder her more or less. But this is a great film. The production values are really cool. There's a restored version of it, I think, which was done in the 2000s from the original camera negative. So it looks really beautiful. And this is a great sort of fanciful, almost fairy tale of a movie, more or less takes place in Spain. And I think this was a movie that um, Frank Sinatra got involved with Ava Gardner in the 50s after his first divorce. Probably the most wrong woman to get involved with on the rebound. And Frank Sinatra basically was kind of okay. So when I get home from the recording studio, you're going to be at home basically with a meatloaf for me ready to go and a martini, right? And Ava Gardner was, well, I'm going to Spain to make a movie. So if you want to come to Spain and hang out, I'm all for this. And he wasn't because he was an old fashioned guy. I think he had a number of years on Ava Gardner at that point. And so she went to Spain to make a record. He cried and whined and got really bitter and depressed, and then made the concept album Only the Lonely. So we can thank Ava Gardner for that. So it all worked out for us fans of both Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra. Great movie, Pandora and the Flying Dutchman. Next, 1952, Orson Welles makes his first appearance in the 50s. Um, he made a version of Macbeth in the 40s that I think I had on my list. And then there was kind of a newer version of Macbeth done in 1950 where they decided, well, this is actually pretty good. So let's put some of the footage that we ripped out back into the movie. And then I think it got re-released in 1950. But anyway, he did a version of Othello in 1952. And Orson Welles is, I mean, I am a huge fan of his. And last week I was mentioning that there is a 3-volume biography of him. But basically, he did all of these kind of bigger Hollywood movies to finance the movies that he actually really cared about making, which were movies of Shakespeare and then other things that people didn't really understand, but they went, hey, it's Orson Welles. Even if we can't understand what he's doing, we can at least pretend to understand. Meanwhile, he's completely changing the language of cinema while he does these so-called side projects, which are the things that he really cared about.
Comments.
Okay, let's take a look at the comments. Legend of the Con says Legend of the Lost is pretty good. She's in there with John Wayne too. Okay, I'm not sure Legend of the Lost. I don't know that exactly. Bent and Twisted, 25K movies in the 50s. Yeah. And every decade there's more and more and more until you just have to go, okay, that's enough now. I think we've reached the point now. I'd like to find out how many movies were made in the 1910s, but there was nothing else to compete with movies in the 50s. TV was starting to just come in. And so the movie companies were getting a little bit nervous about television. And so that's when they started ramping things like color really hard, experimenting with stereo, and inventing things like the Todd AO format, using 70 millimeter. They invented CinemaScope to make things so wide that you knew it was bigger than the television at your house. So those were all interesting technical innovations that made movies cooler, bigger. And if you get a chance, yeah, Vincent says 3D, although the 3D stuff was pretty hokey back then. It was always, and we're throwing a glass of water in your face, or we're waving some kind of large phallic shaped object at the audience like this to make you go, oh my God, somebody's pointing a flagpole at us. These were unnecessary things. I think I even read once somebody like Roger Ebert said something about when there was kind of a 3D reboot in the 70s and 80s. He would always kind of preface talking about 3D going, the most unnecessary thing added to filmmaking at this point. So that was proof of his sense of humor. Um, moving right along, 1952, we have High Noon, a great kind of revenge Western, man standing alone type of thing, which spawned that entire genre. There's always a man alone who is forced to do something he doesn't want to do, and that ends up killing 27 people. Or in the case of Zatoichi movies, we have more or less the high noon trope repeated 28 times in movies. So I recommend the Zatoichi film series done in the 60s and 70s with the great Shintaro Ichi, or no, wait, what was his name exactly? Shintaro Katsu as the blind swordsman. So I just went off on a tangent there. Never mind that. Um, anyway, High Noon classic, Gary Cooper and Grace Kelly. And I think Fred Zimmerman made the film. It's another one of these films that has, like the movie Rancho Notorious, where people are singing in the beginning. You get a bunch of cowpokes singing a song. And so in High Noon, you've got that trope happening where everybody gets to sing along with the song of High Noon, which is awesome.
Yeah.
No, I can't sing it. I'm not doing that. I'll get a copyright flag, and we don't want that. So take a look at High Noon, sing along.
So Priceless has some faves of his. 1951 faves.
3D is the greatest. Yeah, I think that's things like, yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's kind of that's orange and teal 3D, right? And then there's things like House of Wax, I think, which was even hideously remade with Paris Hilton in it, right? I mean, these people have no shame, do they? I mean, we know that they're in dub business. They have no shame. Khan says Grace Kelly getting married was tragic for cinema. She had more movies left in her. She did, but you know what she didn't have in her yet was a variety of castles, yachts, Rolls Royces. You know, the she didn't have enough accessories yet. So she was, yeah. Next, okay, this is another man alone being forced into a situation where he doesn't want to do it. It's kind of a don't make me do it thing. And then underneath that is kind of look what you made me do. So interestingly, in those movies, the protagonists are more or less psychopaths or sociopaths, but that word wasn't used back then. We kind of took it for granted. Here's the man forced into the position of having to do something he doesn't want to do. He just wants to be left alone. And then Shane, of course, is like yet another example of that. And it's got the kid, it's got the dog, it's got the people who are misunderstanding him, and he just wants to be left alone. And of course, meets up with Jack Palance, who doesn't want to be left alone. So we'll just leave it there. But for those of you who haven't seen Shane, Um, watch Shane. It's great. Alan Ladd, of course, who starred in This Gun for Hire, and also the great Van Heflin. So Shane is a movie that can be watched endlessly. You'll always find something new in it. And Jack Palance, he cannot be argued against and is absolutely amazing. Come back, Shane. You know, Dan. You, you know what's happening. And there won't be a dry eye in the house at the end of Shane. Like a lot of these movies from the 50s, they're more or less weepies in some sense, and they do get you. They sneak up on you. And
Color? 50?
his Old Yeller 50s, I think Old Yeller is maybe 50s. It might sneak in there in like 61 or something like that. But I mean, 57. Okay, Old Yeller. All right. So
One.
yeah, that's another one. Next, and this is kind of an outlier and a really weird one. Oh, Dan says original House of Wax is great. It is. And isn't that Vincent Price, who is always great? Um, yeah, I think I left out The Fly, which is a mistake. Excuse me. 1953, The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. Has anybody seen this one? And this is great because this is the one time that Theodore Geisel, I think was his original name, or Dr. Seuss wrote a screenplay. And it's basically what happens when a child doesn't want to practice the piano. It's after school. It's peak 1950s, even though it's 53. A great Technicolor movie. And it just, he ends up in this world which is run by Dr. Terwilliger, the piano teacher, and all bets are off. And it's completely this crazy place. And you've got men with beards that are joined, roller skating around in purple tuxedos and stuff. This is a really great psychedelic movie before psychedelica, and I can't help but think that some people were under the influence. Just the ideology in this movie is really wonderful. So 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. And once again, if you guys want to check back, after this is all said and done, I will have my list in there as I have done for the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So after 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, 1953, we have The Big Heat. So this is a classic film noir film. It's got great people. It's got early Lee Marvin movie. I'm a huge Lee Marvin fan. And also Gloria Graham again. And she did great movies in the 1950s, obviously starting out with In a Lonely Place right in 1950. And The Big Heat is a great, great gangster movie directed by Fritz Lang, of course, of Metropolis, Die Nibelungen, M, Rancho Notorious. And I've discovered that he made a bunch of film noir movies in the 50s that I haven't seen. But anyway, this is prime gangster movie, and it's Fritz Lang, and it's got some really contentious and borderline stuff happening in it. And I think probably it just sailed over the top of a lot of movie executives because it came out as is, and it's a great film. Um,
Take a break. What is everybody beverage of choice?
okay, the producer wants me to ask, what is everybody's beverage of choice at this point? Dano, yours might be Ovaltine since you're in bed, right? And you're British. It's what I used to drink in bed at night in England. So, um,
Coffee from
coffee for you. I'm having good old Pure Rainwater, not to allude to a movie from the 1960s at all. Pure Rainwater with, of course, a Texas glass, honoring my location right here. Benton Twisted says, for me, Westerns are a lot like country music. I just can't. As an artist, I can appreciate something that has heartfelt writing with originality, though. Well, that's pretty much all of country music, starting in the 20s, going all the way up to the 60s. So the thing that they say about country music is, how do you write a country song? You need three chords and the truth. So country music took a long time for me to discover, and now it's some of the most amazing music ever written, frankly. The characters are amazing, the stories are amazing. And also, because we do not have so many completely indigenous art forms here in these United States, one of them is country music, the other is jazz, the other is blues, and the other is rap. Oops, I almost forgot rock and roll. So, okay, country music is up there with all of those other ones. And actually, country music is probably, if we wouldn't have had country music, we would not have rock and roll, jazz, rap, or what else did I say? Blues. So blues and country music are kind of the early states of this stuff, but do not give up on country music and maybe start with ballads. Let's see, let me think of a good ballad for you to start with. Um, well, you could start with Merle Haggard and you could start with the song Skid Row. And then the other one I'm going to recommend is Today I Started Loving You Again. So
He stopped loving her today.
he stopped, well, yeah. I mean, so let's just start with those two. So you check out those two Merle Haggard songs, Skid Row and Today I Started Loving You Again. See how those songs make you feel. We'll leave country music there. Otherwise, this will be a country music show.
Dan's having some tea with Jamaican ginger cake.
Oh, nice. Okay, that sounds really good. Simply pure fruit juice is not from concentrate, no added sugar. I do the Simply lemonade and limeade, 50% diluted with water. Yes, Simply is, it's quality. I mean, it's not Orbits or anything, but it's good. Okay. 1954, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Now, this is a great big budget Disney movie, live action. This is one of those movies where they were fearful of television. So I think it might have even been the most expensive live action Disney movie at the time. They built these amazing sets. They got the great Richard Fleischer to direct this movie. Came out in 1954. It's got an all-star cast. This cast is great. It's got James Mason as Captain Nemo. It's got Kirk Douglas as one of the stowaways and also Peter Lorre. So if you guys haven't seen this one, this is a great movie. And it's also kind of a message movie because in the movie, there's kind of an underlying current about the evils of technology, which also I could go into. I'm a big fan of reading about the original Industrial Revolution. In the 18th century, I have this fantastic book called Pandemonium by Humphrey Jennings, published in the 80s, which my dear wife gave me for my birthday. Pandemonium is all just collections of writings from the beginning of the age of machines in the 18th century. If you guys don't know this book, check it out because it's absolutely relevant to what is happening today with AI and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954. Great film. Um, and in Technicolor, in CinemaScope, no expense spared. So this is a great film. 1954, the Samurai Trilogy starring Toshiro Mifune. Once again, this is an early trilogy film following Wandering Ronin. And the whole thing goes through 3 movies, and it's absolutely amazing. Toshiro Mifune is great. He's coming into his own as a genuine star in the 50s. These are not directed by Kurosawa, but this is a great saga of 3 films, and it's a great watch. Um, okay, 1954, I'm just listing the filmmaker Meyer Deren, who's an American female avant-garde filmmaker, and she made all these shorts that are highly influential, and they're great to watch. You can get a little collection of them. I think Kino put them out. So check out Maya Deren, a fantastic filmmaker, completely avant-garde, not a commercial filmmaker, but highly influential to, I would say, people like David Lynch, possibly Lars von Trier, definitely John Cassavetes, people like that. So those are awesome. Okay, 1954, we're having our first Italian film show up, and it is none other than La Strada by Federico Fellini and starring his wife, Giulietta Massini, also, and the great Anthony Quinn. And basically, this movie is all wrong. I mean, everything about it is uh, just makes your brain explode. It basically starts out with uh, Anthony Quinn plays a character called Zampano, and he's kind of a traveling strongman, entertainer type of person. And he shows up at somebody's house, turns out to be the sister of his former assistant, and basically takes a look at her sister and offers to buy her off the family, off the mother, and just says, I'll take her off your hands. I know you're poor. I know you could use some money. So what do you think? Can I just buy your daughter? And the mother goes, okay, sounds good to me. I mean, the last one worked out. So, okay, sure, bye, bye. And she just goes and gets in this little cart driven by a motorcycle and just goes off with Sampano into just a life of just, you can't believe the stuff that happens to Giulietta in this whole thing. And uh, it seems like when I was reading about this, Anthony Quinn was actually making another film at exactly the same time. He was making a film called Attila, where he was playing Attila the Hun. And I think this film was also shooting in Italy. And Fellini said, "Oh, well, I want you in this movie, so I'm just going to put you in this movie." And Anthony Quinn was saying, "But I'm making this other film." And Fellini said, "Well, you can make that film in the afternoon and just make my film in the morning or something." So I read this quote where Anthony Quinn said, "So I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go and look for locations with Fellini, basically just driving around with Fellini, looking for locations. And then when they found one, he would go, okay, let's shoot here. We're going to shoot whatever here. We're going to do it here." And so Anthony Quinn was doing that in the morning. And then he would just go and make this other film, Attila, which I have not seen, but I'm interested in seeing now that I read this stuff about this. But La Strada is a profound classic Italian film. Fellini won his first Academy Award for it in 1954. And incidentally, on a side note, not to name drop or anything, but I mean, that's just cue from about to name drop. In the late 90s, I found myself working at London Zoo in London, and it is London Zoo, and that's where I ended up working for a while. This is my first job after ceremoniously being invited to leave the Melvins, is the nicest way I can put it. So I needed to get a job as quickly as possible. So I went and worked at the zoo. And the zoo was always having celebrities walk through it. It was just kind of a thing that happened there. So uh, one day I was walking there, walking around, and there was like a separate entrance for the celebrities to kind of walk through where they wouldn't walk through the regular people and they would more or less call up the zoo. They might get a guide to, guide them around the zoo so they could do it as efficiently as possible. One day I was walking by the kind of, VIP entrance or whatever, and I saw Anthony Quinn walking in with a big giant pair of sunglasses, like Miles Davis style sunglasses. But he is a large man and he just has a certain, his face, his physique is built a certain way. If you've watched Anthony Quinn movies and you saw him walking, he would just go, and there's Anthony Quinn. So I just thought to myself, this is probably going to be the only reason, or this is probably going to be the only chance I ever get to meet Anthony Quinn. So I just walked right over to him and I said, Mr. Quinn, I can't believe you're at the zoo. He's like, I like zoos. They're so enjoyable or whatever. And I just said, thank you for your work. This is a great honor to meet you. And um, my favorite film of yours is La Strada. And he just started laughing and he said, a lot of people love that film. He goes, it was kind of hell to make, but I'm glad I made the effort to do it because it's what it is. So that was really cool to meet him. And he was everything you'd want to have in an experience meeting a person like that. I think he was there with his son and maybe his daughter-in-law and one of his grandchildren or something. Completely mellow, interesting person. So anyway, yeah, La Strada is fantastic and incredible film. I'm going to insist all of you watch it because it will make your brain explode, and it always will.
Comment.
Let's see. Not sure if you mentioned it, but Compulsion was an intriguing flick from the 50s. Compulsion is great. Yeah, that's an awesome, interesting film. One of the things that's interesting about the 50s too is that we're at the point where psychoanalysis and Freud and Jung have started to become tropes that are running through popular culture in music, in film, in television. You've got people like Rod Serling starting to write for television and bringing in those psychological tropes and stuff. You've got short story writers, science fiction writers, and fiction writers starting to use psychology and things. So let's see, Anthony Quinn, did fame get to him like it did with Marlon Brando? I don't think it did because although I don't really know, but I think Anthony Quinn had more of a challenging time to kind of establish himself than Marlon Brando did. Marlon Brando, like he basically out of the gate, he was doing off Broadway and then Broadway. He was blowing people's minds on Broadway, so the hype was there. And then once he started making movies, the hype machine went into overdrive. So he didn't really get much of a chance, I don't feel, to kind of develop his talent on screen, more or less anonymously, the way people like Anthony Quinn did, or Carl Malden, those types of character actors. But I mean, nevertheless, I mean, Brando is Yeah, I mean, he got crazier and crazier, but he was always interesting to watch the entire way. I mean, because you never knew what his take on something was going to be. So I'm not sure how insane he did get. Maybe he just kept having more and more fun. But Bent and Twisted, Peter Lorre, what an actor. Yes, one of my favorites. And especially when he got into those Corman movies in the 60s with Vincent Price and those kind of people. Astounding actor. Um, Vincent says Jack Palance does a mean Attila in Sign of the Pagan. I haven't seen that, but I will watch anything with Jack Palance. I mean, he's one of those. If there's a Jack Palance movie I need to check out, I will do it. Just blind. So, um, okay. After La Strada, 1954. Also, we have Seven Samurai. So I can say virtually nothing about this film. It's so iconic, amazing. I think there's a 4K restoration of it doing the rounds in movie houses right now. So if you can get a chance to go see this on the big screen, it's got the nice 1:3 Academy ratio. So it's huge looking. Go see it in the biggest cinema you can see it in. A classic Kurosawa movie, and probably his first um, genuine masterpiece. I mean, Rashomon is a masterpiece also. So from here on out, he's basically just making masterpieces. He's just stamping them out. Super impressive. Um, it's got every Kurosawa is one of these directors who ticks every box. There's comedy, pathos, anxiety, um, sadness, laughter, absurdity, um, treachery. He ticks the box of every single possible human emotion in his movies. So if you get a chance to see Kurosawa movies on the big screen, no matter what they are, run to see them.
You should ask what their favorites are.
So do you guys have any 50s favorites yet at this point? Or we'll just see if you do, because I'm always going blah, blah, blah too much. So I'm gonna have to bust through the list. But let me know, throw some up there if you guys have been watching 50s movies. If you haven't, you've got 25 or 30 to look at. And I feel this is a quality list. Next is the movie Senso, and this is the first, I think it's a Vittorio De Sico. Is it Victoria De Sica movie, or is it? I'm kind of losing my. Can you look up Senso real quick? No, it's Visconti. Excuse me. So this is the first Visconti movie uh, on this list, and it's a great period piece. All of Visconti is worth looking at. Um, I don't think Visconti ever made a bad film, and this is kind of the early beginnings of the epics that he would start making, like The Leopard and The Damned and things like that. So you guys should look that one up. 1955 has Richard III, the great Shakespeare play, and this is the one that's starring and directed by Laurence Olivier. If you haven't seen Richard III, this is great. Eternally relevant story of treachery and how it's employed to gain power in the monarchy during the Wars of the Roses in the UK. Um, let's see. Dano's got Ben-Hur, Vertigo, House of Wax. Those are all great 50s movies. I didn't put Ben-Hur on my list because it didn't quite make the cut for me. I always enjoy watching it. But yeah, the biblical stuff in it gets a little, it's kind of like Sign of the Cross Redux. And oh, it's actually also Cesspie de Mille. So there you go. Angelina says Girl with the Hyacinths, Night of the Hunter, The Court Jester. I haven't seen Girl with the Hyacinths, so that I'm gonna have to put that one on my list. Night of the Hunter, Vincent says, yes, I mean, this is absolutely classic film. Forbidden Planet, yes, that's our iconic also. North by Northwest, I think that might be a 60s movie if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, moving along, 1955 has the movie Picnic. And this movie is awesome. Another CinemaScope Technicolor movie from a play. Jennifer and I love this movie. We will always watch this movie again and again. Of course, it does have William Holden getting his shirt ripped off. And I think he might have had this possibly in his contract by this point because it seemed like from 19, what was the other, the previous one I was talking about? From Sunset Boulevard all the way through his career, William Holden seems to be getting his shirt off. So I think even in networking,
It's off a network.
and Network in the 70s, if you guys haven't seen Network,
60?
he's in his 60s and he's still getting his shirt off. So it's a thing. I might start doing that here. Just maybe we can do like a William Holden's birthday thing or something, and we can all get our shirts off. I don't know. Maybe there's something in this. But anyway, Picnic is awesome. It's one of these movies where it starts with a guy getting off of a train that pulls into town, and it's a train that he has jumped a ride on. It's not, he comes off of a train in a suit looking glamorous. He's basically at the end of his rope and he gets off a train and chaos ensues, or like as the millennials, yeah, meets a high school friend who gives him a job, and it's kind of like Written on the Wind is sort of like that too. I think that starts with a guy getting off a train, maybe, possibly.
Like he's playing somebody 25 or something, but he looks like he's 45 in the movie.
What do you mean in Picnic? Yeah, well, I mean, he looks older, but people looked older in the past, right? So we can say that without being ageist. So Picnic, you guys got to watch Picnic. It's the best. And it also has kind of a lady fight. It's sort of like a, kind of like a town party. And he gets his shirt ripped off by a drunk woman. So we always want to see that. Um, we just do. So also in 1955, the first appearance anywhere of one of my personal favorite band crush actors, which is Ernest Borgnine. So that's 1959, and the movie is Marty. So this is a great film. I can watch this film a million times, and everybody will cry. Ernest Borgnine will make you cry whether you want to or not. And this has so many great lines in it. And Ernest Borgnine plays a butcher in Brooklyn, and he doesn't own the joint. He's just kind of like a counter assistant. Good afternoon, Mrs. Johnson. We have some very nice pork chops today. Would you care for some? Oh, Marty, when are you going to get a girlfriend? So the whole movie is that. Marty, when are you going to get a girlfriend? And this is a great film. Ernest Borgnine actually won the Academy Award for the Best Actor. And also, Marty won the Best Picture Award. I think it ended up winning 4 Academy Awards. So this is back when they handed them out to movies that deserve them. I'm not going to say which movies did not deserve them, but there's a lot of them that did not deserve Academy Awards. So you got to watch Marty. It's got so many great lines. Marty, why don't you go down to the Stardust Ballroom? They got a lots of nice tomatoes there. You could get yourself a girlfriend. You could, so it's about Marty just trying to get a girlfriend, and it's great. Um, Giant was a big production in the 50s, says Felix W. Yes, lots of huge stars. I considered putting Giant in here. I considered putting Giant in here. I think it's a George Stevens film. And of course, George Stevens made Shane. I do like it, but uh, it kind of watching James Dean kind of age into his 50s or 60s is not entirely successful to me. Yeah, it's kind of so it's a little my sense is not quite James Dean doesn't quite have his chops down at this point to be a 50 or 60-year-old, but you could see how if he would have lived to have been 50 or 60, that would have been a cool thing because I think he probably had some development ahead of him that would have been interesting.
About Marfa, how it's still a big deal out there.
Yeah, Giant is still a big deal out in Marfa. If you guys ever go out to Marfa, Texas, they've got some big billboards somebody built. They stuck them out in the desert because that's where it was made. And so there's nice kind of illustrations of Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson and James Dean sitting out there in the middle of the desert. And it's a cool thing to check out. You can also go to the Paisano, I think it's called the El Paisano Hotel, where they all stayed while they were making the movie. And you can even stay in rooms that they stayed in. So that's a cool thing. Of course, you do have to drive like 400 miles west of Austin, Texas to get there, but it's beautiful country out there. I love it. Vincent says 20 million miles to Earth and the seventh voyage of Sinbad. Yes, those are great. Ray Harryhausen, of course, a master of stop motion. And that's when stuff looked cool like that. Um, I really prefer that to the digital stuff. I think digital stuff can be interesting. Some of it's great when it's really seamless and looks good, things like the host and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of lost something all being made by computer, I think. So Angelina says rhubarb, 1959, not 1951 is another fun one. It's about a cat that inherits a baseball team. Oh, okay. I think I remember that one. Like some baseball team owner leaves the baseball team to Barb. Yeah, we'll have to watch that one. It's kind of like in the realm of Harvey and that type of stuff. Um, okay, moving along. 1955, All That Heaven Allows. And this is a great Douglas Sirk movie. If you guys don't know Douglas Sirk, he was a Hungarian actor, fled World War II in Europe, came over, started making these real pot boilers. And a lot of them are really beautiful Technicolor movies, and the lighting, the costumes, the production value are just astounding is in these films. They are jaw-dropping in their production values. The stories are extremely lightweight, pot boiler type stories. I think in this one, basically Jane Wyman, who was Ronald Reagan's first wife, I believe, uh, becomes a widower. She's got two grown children who are at college, I think, or something. And she finds herself, she's been in mourning for God knows how long at this point, like 3 years or something stupid. And she gets in contact with the local handyman of the town, who is Rock Hudson, who's always kind of putting some wood in his station wagon, his Woody, just saying. And she kind of runs into him at the local garden center, becomes friends with him. And before you know it, he's innocently doing tasks around her house and stuff. And it is really innocent. And the townspeople begin to wag their devilish little tongues about what's going on. He's over there fixing stuff up. Is this correct? Can this be done? You know, this shameless widow employing a good-looking, rugged man. He's quite handsome, who knows his way around a toolbox. So all kinds of chaos ensues. The kids are like, "What are you doing?" The people in the town are talking. And this is done in a great way because now it's so ludicrous to our depraved sensibilities here in the 2020s. We couldn't imagine such a thing. It'd just be like, y'all just get together and just, this is going to be great. Just who cares? Or there could be people out there with little cameras filming everything, putting it on the internet. So maybe we'd have the same thing. I don't know. It would be like that couple at the Coldplay concert. Oh my God, look at them.
Was cheating.
He was cheating. Okay, but we don't know the full story. We can never know it. Maybe somebody with an ingenious mind can just have Gemini generate like a new version a la Douglas Sirk of that thing. And then it would be better. All right. Next. Okay, 1956, Gunfight at OK Corral. This is a great classic 50s Western Technicolor CinemaScope. It's got who plays Doc Holliday in that? Oh, it's Kirk Douglas as Doc Holliday. I think it's got Burt Lancaster in it also. And it also has a extremely young no, I'm thinking of a different movie. He's not in that one. But Gunfight at OK Corral is a great one. This is also another song you can sing along with. So I recommend watching that movie and singing along with it. Maybe you could have a drink every time the song comes up. Gunfight at OK Corral. It's better than good. Next is another Western, 1956, another John Ford Western, The Searchers. And this is a great VistaVision Technicolor movie. And it's basically Natalie Wood gets kidnapped by Indians as a child and completely grown up and raised by Indians, becomes effectively a Native American as a result of this. John Wayne has been looking for her for 20 years. And that's basically the opening salvo of this movie. It's shot in Monument Valley, looks absolutely astounding. I mean, this is, She Wore Yellow Ribbon is also filmed in color in Monument Valley, but this just kind of blows it away, this VistaVision presentation. And this is a great film. It's absolutely worth watching, and I insist that you watch it. It's got John Wayne and a young Natalie Wood in it. It's really cool.
Has a couple of movies.
Let's see. Felix says Peyton Place was another great pick. Yep. Crush on Lana Turner. Yeah, incidentally, I think the great clarinetist Artie Shaw was quite the womanizer. And I think, wasn't he actually married to both Ava Gardner and Lana Turner? I think he was. And Artie Shaw was a real piece of work. I mean, just listen to the Artie Shaw song "Nightmare" that he wrote. He's great. He's like a subject in himself, who at the peak of his popularity in the early 50s decided, I have math problems to solve, so I'm not doing this anymore. and made many people's brains exploded. And there's a lot of great Artie Shaw interviews when he's in his 70s, and he's still a piece of work. So, yeah, I mean, he was married to Ava Gardner and Lana Turner, and I think he's married 8 times. So this is what you do. I mean, when you were the equivalent of, I don't know who anymore. I mean, just who would be the equivalent of it? I guess in Diddy without the nastiness. I don't know. I think Artie Shaw was bigger than Diddy. So we'll leave it. Um, let's see. Okay, next 1956, Written on the Wind. I alluded to this earlier. It's, I think, Cliff Robertson, Lauren Bacall, and this is another Douglas Sirk movie. Basically, playboy son of like an oil magnate or something, plays around too much, gets burned, and this is a classic Douglas Sirk movie. Involves shootings, drinkings, all kinds of stuff in big fancy houses. So great film. Um, Now we're making kind of a left turn to sort of serious movies. Things in the 50s started to get really serious, and there were filmmakers out there doing serious things. Actually, one of the earliest ones of the 50s, I think in 1950, was a movie made by a woman, the great Ida Lupino, and it's a movie about rape. And I think this is the first time that the subject was dealt with maturely and seriously and by a woman. So if you haven't seen the movie Outrage, it's quite an amazing film. And when you think that it was made in 1950s, and she had to in 1950, and she had to really struggle to get this film made, and did get it made. And it's an incredible film. But of course, we have fallout from World War II. We've got psychology coming in. We have atomic tropes coming in. And we also have the population basically being taught to live in fear in the 1950s because now the Soviets have a hydrogen bomb. So we have a new world. We have a duck and cover world. I know people who've grown up in the 50s and remember actually doing that. So this next film is one such film, and it's called Paths of Glory, and it's in 1957. And this is one of Stanley Kubrick's biggest films of the 50s. I think he made The Killing in the 50s also. But if you haven't seen this film, this is a really stunning film, Paths of Glory, and it's probably one of the finest anti-war films ever made. It's a film that takes place in World War One, amongst the French, and basically they get in. Basically, um, Kirk Douglas plays a colonel or a major that is told to select, I think, 6 men to be executed for cowardice, and this just comes down through the ranks to him, and he just has to do that. So this movie is an outstanding film, and it really put Stanley Kubrick on the map as a great, great filmmaker to be watched. If you haven't seen Paths of Glory, this is great. This is masterful and classic filmmaking and will remain so. Let's see, Vincent says, wow, I forgot Niagara with Marilyn Monroe and Joseph Cotton. Great film. Absolutely great film. Next, after Paths of Glory, 1957, Throne of Blood. And that is this movie here. And this is actually my recommendation for a film that all of you guys should watch out of all of these. But it's another great Kurosawa film, has Toshiro Mifune in it, and it is Kurosawa's version of Macbeth. So this just has three heavyweights right there. You've got Shakespeare, you've got Kurosawa, and you have Toshiro Mifune. So this is an outstanding film. Toshiro Mifune in this as the Macbeth character and what happens to him is really an amazing watch. So that's the second Kurosawa film I've got in here, I believe. Or no, it's the third one. Um, so after Throne of Blood, we have another foreign film in 1957, which of course is The Seventh Seal. And this is the first time I'm putting a Bergman film in any of these lists. This is when he first started making films. He might have made some in the very late 50s. But Seventh Seal, classic tale taking place during the plague, the Middle Ages in Sweden. And it's really about a traveling knight who's played by Max von Sydow, who one day has death show up to come for him. And he tricks death into a series of chess games. And there's been a lot of great material inspired by this particular film. Notably, there's a film written by Scott Walker that's called The Plague, that's inspired by this. And this is masterful filmmaking and absolutely just, I insist that you guys watch The Seventh Seal. If you haven't seen it, your lives won't be complete unless you've seen The Seventh Seal. And it's a great meditation on mortality, which we can all use, whether or not we're doing it, which a lot of us might be all the time anyway. 1958, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. I think, Vincent, you mentioned that before, but once again, these are some of my favorite films, these Ray Harryhausen films, Jason and the Argonauts, all those films are really cool. And those are great to see in movie theaters. Sometimes local movie theaters will run summer programs and they'll program it in like 3 months worth of cool older films. We're really lucky here in Austin because we have a place called the Paramount Theater, which is actually an old vaudeville theater that they've turned into a movie theater. They also have great concerts there. Um, but they run a summer movie series, and we've seen some really cool movies there. And it's great to go and see these older films on a big screen if you guys can do it.
Ask if they have cool theaters.
Guys have any local theaters that do that sort of stuff? We're sort of spoiled here in Austin. We have the Paramount, and then we also have the Austin Film Society, which does the same sort of thing. But anyway, next is another Fellini film from 1957, The Knights of Cabiria. Knights of Cabiria. And this film, Fellini also won an Academy Award for. It was the next film that he made right after La Strada. And it also has Giulietta Massini, his wife, in it. And in this film, it's kind of like a slice of life thing, more or less, which La Strada is. But in this one, she's playing a straight up prostitute. She's a street woman. Of course, the Italians being way ahead of the prudish American subjects that can be spoken about. But she plays a woman of the streets, and it just follows her throughout. Just her simple task to just stay alive, not get hurt, and remain and have this kind of buoyancy and optimistic approach towards life. And really, this is like um, probably one of the most heartbreaking films ever made. I mean, it's up there with La Strada. And I mean, if you were going to watch these as a double feature, I've always thought in my mind like this would be kind of almost a Lars von Trier type of thing to do if you really wanted to punish an audience, you'd have a double feature of La Strada and uh, Knights of Cabiria, because these films together are just, they're real weepies, but they're not sentimental. These are classic, amazing films. You have to be in the mood for them, but they are wonderful films. Um, Angelina says, we have the Philadelphia Film Society that owns a couple of theaters in the city. That's lucky,
Pretty.
because I'm sure that the Philadelphia Museum of Art there also has a great film archive, I'm sure, just like the Met does, or the BFI does in London, or we have the Harry Ransom Center here in Austin that has a big film library. 1957, Incredible Shrinking Man. This is a great, one of the many great science fiction movies of the 50s. I had to pick one, otherwise I was going to pick six. So I picked that one also because it's based on um, a story by the great Richard Matheson, who wrote things like I Am Legend, and also wrote a lot of Twilight Zones episodes, and I think Outer Limit episodes. There's a great compendium of Richard Matheson short stories that's available through Penguin, or if your local library has it, just get a book of short stories of Richard Matheson and your brain will explode. And also, he was extremely prescient in his writing, and his short stories are great. There may be, I think the longest ones are about 20 pages long at the most, but his stories are awesome and will chill you to their bone. And they have a lot of reality twisting, and they're super cool. So, Incredible Shrinking Man, if you haven't watched it, and it's got a great ending, completely existential, weird, unsuspecting. Next, 1957, Bridge on the River Kwai. So that's a David Lean movie, a classic film. Alec Guinness and our favorite, William Holden. And what does he do in the movie? Gets his shirt off. I think maybe he may get his shirt off quite a few times in that movie. But this is a great, I think maybe shot in 70 millimeter. They went to Thailand to make it, Sri Lanka, all these places. And this is a classic, incredible film to watch in one sitting. Once again, it's a film where if it's showing at the movie theater, if you see Bridge on the River Kwai is showing at a movie theater, get your ass down there. Of course, it has the amazing Alec Guinness in there, making probably his sixth movie with David Lean at this point. So they know what they're doing. Next, 1958, Bell Book and Candle. And this is a movie with Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart. It also has Jack Lemmon in it. And who else is in it that's really good? I'm trying to think. That's all I got for now. But this is great. Jimmy Stewart is planning on getting married to a socialite. Um, he walks back and forth in front of kind of an African ritualistic art store slash gallery that's owned by Kim Novak. She's a witch. She takes a shine to him, puts a spell on him, and chaos ensues. This is a great CinemaScope Technicolor movie. It's got a cool mashup of sort of witchcraftery. It's got the best nightclub in the world, the Zodiac Club. And once you look at the Zodiac Club, you're just going to wish that you could have gone to that particular Zodiac Club. So this is an awesome film made in 1958.
That too, right?
And it has a cat called Pie Wacket. So this is another reason why it's an amazing film. Vincent says, love Matheson. Yep. Brent asks, I Am Legend, was there any other movie made from that book other than the Will Smith version? Okay. You're going to require some correcting on this. The Will Smith version is like, let's just forget about that. First version is going to be a version with Vincent Price, and it's a black and white CinemaScope movie made in Italy, I think in, not sure when exactly Last Man on Earth or Last Man on Earth was made, but I have a feeling it's the 50s. Vincent Price, and yeah, that's the first version. That's really great. The next version is, of course, The Omega Man with Heston, made in the 60s, and it's part of Heston's great sci-fi trilogy, Planet of the Apes, Omega Man, and Soylent Green. I'm not sure if he made all three of those in a row, but yeah, the Vincent Price version is vastly superior to the Will Smith version. I mean, it's not hard. It's Vincent Price, and his place is all tricked out. In real life, Vincent Price was rather a gourmand and also art collector, had a fantastic art collection, and also wrote a cookbook. He was a gourmet chef. So this is real stuff. And he was also an African art expert too, collected African art. So anyway, those are better versions, but the Will Smith one, I think I tried to watch it, couldn't make it. I kept thinking of Vincent Price somehow. Anyway, no, there is no such thing as a stupid question. So anything with Vincent Price, I mean, it's just, you know. Next, The Hidden Fortress, 1958, yet another amazing Kurosawa movie. And I don't know if some of you know out there, yet another incredible collaboration with Toshiro Mifune. Toshiro Mifune is kind of a rogue warrior wandering the land, falls in with a princess that he has to protect from other people coming after her to kill her. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it's Star Wars. This is what the movie Star Wars was based on, more or less. And people who are crazy Star Wars fans sort of know about this stuff. I'm not sure if a lot of people get into this level of trivia, but I remember seeing The Hidden Fortress when I was going to high school at Verde Valley in Arizona in the 70s. And fortunately, we had somebody who was kind of a film buff of all these kind of films. I think it was a collaboration between one of the physical education guys and the English guy. So we were seeing these Kurosawa movies. I also saw a Zatoichi movie there for the first time, and possibly a Lone Wolf and Cub movie there for the first time. So they were showing us crazy stuff. They just wanted to watch this stuff. And they were just going, Saturday night, we're watching a samurai movie. Has anybody seen one of those? Also, I think they were easier to get prints of to to show for us because nobody wanted to watch that stuff. Um, anyway, Hidden Fortress, watch it and keep an eye out for the Star Wars overlaps. If you guys are Star Wars fans, I'm not really there with you, making an assumption. No offense intended either way. 1958, we're back with Orson Welles with A Touch of Evil. And this is one of Orson, I mean, all of Orson Welles' films are great. There's not a bad Orson Welles film. But this one, Orson Welles looks like he's gained about 300 pounds. He's just eating candy bars nonstop. He's got this insane level of clothing on. He looks like he's wearing like 15 overcoats. and it's out in the desert somewhere on a border town with Mexico. It's got Janet Leigh in it, and it also has uh, Charlton Heston in it. The opening tracking shot of this film is just one of the greatest things in film. It seems to last for an entire reel, like it goes on for 15 minutes. And originally, when he had the movie come out, they just went, we don't know what's going on here. We don't need that. And so then later it had to be restored in a future version. But if you take a look at this movie, and you don't feel like watching it, just watch the first 15 minutes of it because it's a pre-credit title sequence. Um, and it just has this amazing tracking shot that goes over buildings underneath, like along people driving their cars. It's absolutely outstanding. Next, 1958, Vertigo. And this is the second movie in the same year that Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak was in. And this movie bombed when it came out. I think quite a few of these movies were not popular, but subsequently have been considered great, great classic films. Vertigo is one of those movies. People were just going, okay, a guy almost fell off a roof and now he's scared of heights. Why is this? This isn't interesting at all. But all of the small stuff that's going on in this movie is absolutely amazing. It's got a great dream sequence with uh, James Stewart in a bed after a head injury that is completely one of the most psychedelic things you'll ever see in movies. Huge vision presentation, uh, Technicolor, all that stuff. And the level of double entendres and stuff that are going on in this movie are pretty much off the rails. And then just frankly, this is basically the first giant movie about necrophilia. I mean, let's just say it, that's what it is. And I don't think anybody at any of these movie theaters, I mean, anybody in these movie companies even knew what he was doing. They were just kind of going, well, it looks really good. It's thin, but all right, whatever. So this is another one of those films where if you can see it at a summer film festival on a big screen, this is just kind of jaw-dropping and amazing. So yes, Acid Bath Spa Vertigo is so great. And this is one of those movies where there's been a few restorations of it, I think. And one of them came out in the 90s. And I seem to remember when I was on tour of the Melvins, we were in New Zealand and we were killing the afternoon. And as we frequently did, Buzz and I looked in the papers and saw, oh, Vertigo's playing. We're going. We didn't even have a conversation about it. Should we go and see Vertigo on the big screen? We were just going, we're going. And of course, it was amazing. And it always is and always will be.
Kim Novak is still alive.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Kim Novak. Yeah.
Still alive.
She's still alive. Is she 90 or something?
And Sophia Loren is 90 and is still alive.
Oh, okay. So Sophia Loren is 90 and is still alive. Kim Novak is 92 and is alive and sadly got caught up in that space that people started doing. So that's really sad. But, her legacy remains. And she was a classic actor and a great actor. And so she's in two of my favorite films ever, which are Picnic and also Vertigo. I mean, she could have quit. Oh, and also Bell Book and Candle. So that's three amazing movies. And there's probably some other ones that I'm missing out. Coming to the end here, 1959, and we're really getting into more or less modern filmmaking with this 1959 choice, and that is the movie Shadows by John Cassavetes. And no pun intended, but with this movie, you can see basically the very beginnings of modern cinema. John Cassavetes is throwing in lots of crazy angles, lots of close-ups, crazy editing, and you can really see the birth of his influence right here and how it just gets catapulted all the way through the 60s, 70s, 80s, really to the modern days. I'm going to have some more Cassavetes movies in the 60s and 70s, but Shadows is great to watch, to see just the birth of this really unique voice in cinema. And all of his movies are really, really great. I mean, Killing of a Chinese Bookie is just outstanding, miraculous filmmaking. Next, 1959, the very last year, we have Testament of Orpheus. And this is a film made by Jean Cocteau, made a couple of my earlier favorite films, Orpheus, Blood of a Poet, and La Belle et la Bête, Beauty and the Beast. So this is a great ending to his kind of Orphic trilogy, as they call it. Lots of really cool special effects, black and white. I think he's still sticking with Academy ratio at this point, but it's superb. I mean, I could never get enough Jean Cocteau. I can always pull it out and put it on if I feel like getting inspired by just a real master of cinema, art, writing, general inclination towards art in general. So that is where we're stopping today. Thank you guys for being here. Just to remind you, I've got a Patreon page working on stuff that you can only hear there. Big musical pieces. I'm also writing about this collection here, providing needle drops of it and writing essays on the stuff. You can also go to my Bandcamp page if you want to just stream some of my music, and you can listen to it and check it out, see if you want to buy albums or not. Some of you may already have all of this stuff. There will be new stuff coming up out there. You can buy me a coffee. I love coffee. I will drink it. And yes, that's right. I'm also a producer. I've produced an album here or two. I've produced an album here and there. If you'd like to work with me, you guys just drop me a line. If you know of any band that needs help making a record, I will do that, of course, also. Let's see, is there anything else?
See art page.
Jennifer's Etsy art page. Don't forget to take a look at that. We still have some stuff in there. We've got drawings that she's done from the 20s and 30s. We also have a couple of paintings in there you guys might want to check out. So
After links.
the links will be in there, including all of my favorite movies from here. So
Video.
the link will be in this video below. So thank you guys. Really appreciate your support in this. And I think we are done for today. So have a great week. And we will be back with movies of the 60s. This is even going to be harder to pick people out of because it's kind of where I started watching a lot of movies in movie theaters. Anyway, I appreciate you. Have a good week, and I will see you next week.